Hi approved crew, and welcome back to my channel. So today we are here to discuss the brand new palette by Bad Habit Beauty. They have done it. They have duped the Natasha Denona Star palette. So do you guys think it's as good as the original? If you want to find out, you're in the right place. We're about to get into it.
I'm a lone wolf. I'm a lone wolf. I'm a lone wolf. I'm a lone wolf. I'm a lone wolf.
So we already went over the Bad Habit palette when they decided they were going to come out with their brand new Luxe series. And the first shadow palette in the Luxe series was the Mystics palette. And we reviewed that in a previous video. Well, that palette was $24 because they changed the formula. So everybody was worried that that was going to be like the gold standard going forward for Bad Habit Beauty. However, right behind the Luxe series, they decided to release another palette called Divine. And this palette was a regular palette apparently with their normal formula, and this one only retailed for $16. So everybody kind of took a deep breath. Shoo! We realized that the Luxe series is going to be something a little bit different, a little bit special, because the formula is going to be a little different, a little better. I personally, after having played with that palette, I do think it is going to be definitely something that is a higher quality, and I can appreciate that if they're going to raise the price point for higher quality. Now, having said that, I don't have any issues with Bad Habit's initial formula, the regular formula that they're constantly improving and building on in their $12 and $16 palettes, and that is what the Divine palette is. This is just the standard palette from Bad Habit Beauty. Now, I say standard, however, the last palette that they released in this regular line was a dupe for the Soft Glam palette, and that was the Arabesque palette. Now, I actually got the Arabesque palette. I love this palette, and if you guys want to see a review on this, then I'll link it up here somewhere so you guys can go back and look at the review on this particular palette. This palette only had 12 pans, and so I always thought of that as like the standard when it comes to Bad Habit, unless they're going for like Natasha Denona. When they decided to dupe other Natasha Denona palettes, they were in those big 18 pan type palettes. They also did that when they duped the Huda Beauty palettes. They were in that bigger format, and that is what the Divine palette is. So here she is. This is the Divine palette. It's actually really pretty. I love the graphics for this. It has this really soft outside kind of material. It is all lined up on the back with the shades and what the names of the shades are. Of course, it has the cruelty-free bunny down here at the bottom, along with all of Bad Habit Beauty's socials, and it is a magnetic palette as well, which I really, really like. So it does feel a little heavy. It's not as heavy as the Mystics palette was, but you know, it's not like a flimsy cheap cardboard. It feels like a really good palette, something that you would invest a lot of money in. That's the way that this feels. I love the way these feel for just being a $16 palette. So again, it's this black matte with like this kind of gold design on it that I think is really super cool. And then again, this is supposed to dupe the Natasha Denona Star palette. So let's talk about for a minute what exactly it is that they're attempting to dupe here. So the Natasha Denona Star palette was $169, and this is what she looks like. Now the Natasha Denona Star palette actually has this really pretty stitching on the outside, like a lot of her palettes do. It's this kind of faux leather feel. It has this little plastic panel right here, and then it was divided up into 18 shades, and you get it kind of divided up into sections. So you have this section, and then you have this section. So they are 18 shades. Each one of these pans is supposed to be 2.5 grams a piece. They are rather large large pans for Natasha Denona. And yeah, so this is the Star palette. This is what we're going to be comparing it to. Now, when the Star palette came out, Natasha Denona announced this palette as new formulas. So this palette consisted of 4 new crystal eyeshadows, 2 duochromes, 3 metallics, and 9 creamy mattes. And that is what the Star palette is. So, you think Bad Habit was able to pull that off? So what the Bad Habit website actually states is in the Bad Habit Divine palette is a collection of neutrals, bold hues, and sparkling metallics. This palette includes 9 creamy mattes, and the rest are a blend of metallics and 2 duochrome shadows that you can create wearable day and dramatic nighttime looks from. These super soft pigments are highly blendable with strong color payoff. So it sounds like they did try and do the duochromes, which always makes me nervous because Natasha Denona has some of the best shifts in the game. In addition to that, she has 4 pans in the Star palette that are actually called crystallized. So they're this kind of new breed of sparkling metallics that are actually infused with crushed diamond particles. They're called chroma crystals, and it's something that Natasha Denona is kind of famous for. So I don't think that there's going to be any crushed diamond and pearl pigments inside of the Bad Habit Beauty palette, but let's see how close they can get to the chroma crystal formula. So first, let's take a look at the Bad Habit palette up close. So again, you're looking at 18 shadows that have an array of 9 colors that are going to be like metallics and glitters, and then you're going to have 9 that are going to be mattes. The collection does have some neutrals, some bold colors, of course the great sparkles that are in there, and then don't forget there are supposed to be 2 duochrome shadows in here as well. They do claim that this is supposed to be wearable day to night, and that the pigments are very soft, but they're highly blendable with a strong color payoff. Again, these are cruelty-free palettes by Bad Habit as well. So that's what the palette looks like up close. Now let's take a look at these 2 palettes side by side. Now, the first thing that you're going to notice right off the bat is the difference in pan size. So you are looking at a 2.5 gram pan up against about a 1 gram pan. So there is going to be a drastic difference in the amount that you see and that you get. But let's be honest, it takes us all forever to get through eyeshadows. So I'm sure that the Bad Habit palette will last you for quite a while. Now, keep in mind that my Natasha Denona Star palette has been used and abused, so it is a little beat up. We will definitely take a look at some side-by-sides and see how they compare color for color. Now, of course, looking at these 2 side by side, Bad Habit has not done me any favors because the layout is not at all the same. They are all jumbled up and all mixed up, and I am going to have to hunt for corresponding colors when I do the swatches. So the swatch bit may take me a little while to make sure that I find each color that matches up with its corresponding color, but we're going to do it. Now, as always, what I'm going to do is I will always start with the Natasha Denona palette first. The way that we're going to do these swatches is I'm going to take them 1 square at a time. So we're going to start with this square. I'll just start at 1 row and just work my way down until we get this entire square figured out in the Bad Habit palette. But I'm going to lay these colors down first, and then you'll see the corresponding Bad Habit color swatched next to the corresponding Natasha Denona color. Let's see how close these 2 really are. Alright guys, so we are going to start with the Natasha Denona palette. I'll just go ahead and get these laid down, and then we will go over the Divine palette from Bad Habit swatches. All right, so the first swatch is actually called Relic, and I love this color from the Divine palette. This one right here, I think it's beautiful, and it actually looks really stunning on the eye. And that's Relic. And then I believe the next shade is Sacred, and then we have Hades. And then I think Luna is next. And after Luna, we have Poseidon, which is the duochrome, and you guys will take a close-up look of that one here in a little bit, but it's amazing. They really nailed it. And then that last one is Gaia. But these are all of them lined up. I think for the most part, this first set looks pretty good. But honestly, you guys, that Poseidon color was the duochrome shift I wasn't sure that Bad Habit was going to be able to pull off. But I think they did a really good job. So here you can see that the Bad Habit ones are on the left and the Natasha Denona ones are on the right. And while there are slight differences in tone, there are several here that I actually prefer out of the Divine palette over the Natasha Denona formula. But I do think even though the tones are very close, I do think they are a little bit different when it comes to some of the colors. But overall, you're getting the same theme from the palette, but I do think there are simple tonal variations that Bad Habit has created to make it their own. All right, so these are Natasha Denona shades, and we're going to go ahead and lay these down. And those, particularly those ones on the end, you'll be impressed with. Okay, so this is Freya from Bad Habit, and then this is Hestia from Bad Habit, and then Ascension. And then we have Soul. These two, I think, are beautiful. These are the Chroma Crystals from the Natasha Denona palette. And in the Bad Habit palette, they really did a good job. And then that one is Thea. So in these, the Natasha Denona is going to be on the left, and the Bad Habit will be on the right. And you guys, I just think Bad Habit has done it again. I think these are gorgeous. And even with those gold ones, and even that pink icy, I just think that the Bad Habit version is more opaque and just shinier and prettier. There's just something about the Bad Habit formula that I really, really like. Even the little icy topper there that you see right there on the end, that's more like a topper that you would use. Even that one I feel like Bad Habit just really nailed. All right, so these are beautiful, beautiful colors as well. Okay, so that first one is AO or AO. I'm not sure how that's pronounced. The second one is Persephone, that purpley color. And then we have Nirvana, which is really pretty. And then you guys, that is Enyo, that one on the end, that brown shimmer. And Enyo looks absolutely stunning on the eyes. I love, it's one of my favorite colors in the Natasha Denona palette, and I was worried about that particular color in this one, and it's just as good. I love Enyo. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful brown. Not to take anything away from the rest of these, but that brown in particular, I really, really like. Okay, so the last three are Eos, Heretic, and Blasphemy. Now, you'll notice that the first two, which is Eos and Heretic, that's Eos, and then Heretic will be next. They are this similar shades, but have a very different undertone. I think Blasphemy, though, for the most part, is pretty spot on. So yeah, those are the last three colors in the Divine palette. So, wow. There are some colors in there that I think I actually prefer from the Bad Habit palette as opposed to the Natasha Denona palette. Now, there was a little bit of kickback to Natasha Denona when the Star palette first came out because this was a new generation of mattes that she tried. And she guaranteed that there wasn't going to be any fallout with these mattes. And to be honest with you, there was very little, if any. However, it did take a lot of layering to get them to show up on the eye. So, you know, it's like, a give and take there. I think me personally, I would rather have to go in like really soft with like a pressed pigment, but have a really good color payoff than to have to go in layer after layer just to avoid kick out and dust up in the pan and fallout on the eye. Kick up in the pan is not something that really bothers me, and fallout on the eye is always something that can be cleaned up. So I guess that's really a matter of preference. Now, as always, the Bad Habit formula is incredibly soft. It is a lot like the Anastasia formula. There is a lot of dust up in the pan. These are pressed pigments, so you go in very easy with just a little bit on the brush and you get a really good color payout. So let's get into some application. I really want you guys to look at how this palette performs. I actually have it on my eyes tonight. I'll be honest with you guys, I really like it. So let's take a look at some performance and application here from the Divine palette. Yay, Divine palette. All right, so we did use Heretic, and I used Heretic just to kind of blank the lid out a little bit, and then I'm going in with Luna as a transition color here, and I really like this as a transition color. I think it does a really good job, and I'm not going to, you know how a lot of people, I think, edit so that it looks like blending only took 2 seconds? Yeah. Blending doesn't take 2 seconds, guys. You actually have to blend for quite a while. So just keep that in mind when you're doing your eyeshadow. Don't get frustrated if you take a couple of passes and it's still not blended. It does take a little while. And now I'm going in with just a slightly deeper shade, just right in the outer corner. This is Gaia, and just gonna take it and keep it to the outside of the lid and just buffing that out. Again, keep it to the outside, and once you get the outside nice and buffed out, then you can start like pulling it through, like once or twice. Just pull it straight through just to get it nice and blended. But that'll kind of give you that darker focus just on the outside of the eye, giving you the illusion that your eye is just a little more open than it normally would be. All right, so I'm putting a tacky base down here, and I'm sticking with just a colorless tacky base. This is the Medusa's Makeup tacky base, and that helps a lot of times with these kind of crumbly glitters that you see in like the Anastasia Beverly Hills palettes, the Natasha Denona palettes, this palette, the Divine palette. I'm using Ascension right here on the lid, and it is one of those really pretty metallics. So it's one of those kind of crumbly metallics like you see in the Anastasia palettes. So I like a nice tacky base when you're working with those types of textured shadows. And notice here that number one, there's not a lot of fallout, and number two, I'm not having to spritz my brush, and I'm still getting an amazing color payout here. Now I'm going to show you the finished look in just a moment under a flash and some different lighting, and you'll see how intense this shimmer really is, but it really does look beautiful. So now I'm just taking Gaia and I'm just lining the lid right up against the lash line with Gaia, and then I'm just going to go back into Luna and just kind of buff that out a little bit just to give it a more smoky appearance. Very simple, very easy look, nice natural look for kind of that everyday. And we're gonna slap on some lashes here and show you what this looks like in some different lighting. And that's just so intense, that shimmer. I think it's beautiful. I really like it. And these colors blend beautifully. I think the shimmers look absolutely stunning. Overall, good performing as always, shadows with Bad Habit. So one thing I really, really like out of the Bad Habit palette is the performance specifically of the shimmers and the glitters in this particular palette. I did find that I really didn't have to spray the brush down, go in and do, you know, all of that extra prep that a lot of times we do have to do with pressed glitters. These actually applied with a brush very nicely. Now, I did use a tacky base. I have found that using a really tacky eye base does wonderful with having your glitter or any kind of really kind of crumbly type glitter like that is in the Norvina palette, like the ones in the Natasha Denona palette, like the ones in the Bad Habit Beauty palette. They really perform better if you have a sticky base. Now, what do I mean by a sticky base? This is a good example. This is from Medusa's Makeup. You can just go to medusasmakeup.com and you'll see her eye primer there. It is kind of this very emollient type. It's kind of waxy. It's a vegan eye base, but it's very tacky, and when you put it on the eye, it has this very kind of tacky feel to it, and then when you apply the glitter to it, it sticks straight to it, and then the wear time of this is amazing. Another base that I really like that does really good when it comes to shimmers and glitters is by P. Louise. Now, if you guys watch Nikki tutorials, you've probably heard of the P. Louise eye primer before. To me, the P. Louise eye base is like Painterly in a tube. And a lot cheaper, so definitely check out P. Louise. I love this. It comes in different tones, and it really does help with any kind of glitters or duochromes that you're putting on the eye. It does help them last quite a long time. Now, the difference between these two is the Medusa's Makeup is going to be a clear sticky base, and the P. Louise will actually give you kind of that blanked out coverage on the eyelid. It will actually help you kind of cancel out, you know, any veins or any discoloration that you have on the lid. I actually like to use this before any eyeshadow, just to put on as a regular eye primer, just to blank out the lid, and then it makes a really good base just to apply eyeshadow. The way that I like to use this is specifically with glitters or shimmers. So I'll do my eyeshadow and I'll have it all on except for what I want to apply as glitter or shimmer, and then I will take this and put it on top of the eyeshadow that I already have on, because it's clear, so it doesn't really mess up anything that you put on, you know, that you've already laid down. And then I will press the glitter on top of it and it'll stick right to it, or the shimmer, or even some of those like crumbly kind of metallics. This works really, really good with those, and it's very inexpensive. All right, guys, so you know what time it is. Let's play Can You Spot the Dupe? All right, guys, one of these is Poseidon from the Bad Habit palette, and the other one is the Natasha Denona duochrome. I love this shift, you guys. You see how it's brown and then it shifts to that teal shift? That is something very unique. Natasha Denona, again, has some of the best shifts in the game. The fact that Bad Habit pulled this off is stunning to me. I love it. I love it. All right, guys, so again, which one is Poseidon? It's going to be the one on the left. All right, guys, now this is Relic. One of these is Relic, and it's the one on the top. All right, and then all right, guys, the next one is Gaia, one of my favorite mattes in this palette. And can you guys guess which one is Gaia? And this will be Gaia from the Divine palette by Bad Habit. Which one is it? It's the one on the top. All right, now we're going to do one of the Crystal Chromas by Natasha Denona. Bad Habit did attempt to dupe this formula, so one of these is Soul. Can you guys guess which one it is? Soul is the one on the top. I do think this is a beautiful color. All right, guys, back to the mattes. We have one here that is Sacred, and it is the one on the top. And then another beautiful color. This is AO. One of these is from the Divine palette, and it is the one on the top. And it's so funny, I don't know how to pronounce that. It's just the letter A and the letter O. Just A-O. I don't know. All right, guys, this is Eos, another one of my favorite colors in this palette. Can you guys guess which one is Eos from the Divine palette? It's the one on the top. My favorite one in this palette is Enyo. It's that brown shimmer that I showed you guys earlier. Can you guys guess which one is Enyo? This one's hard. It is the one on the bottom this time. I absolutely love playing that game. I think it's so much fun, and I know you guys enjoy it as well. I see it in the comments all the time when we play that game, so I'm glad that you guys enjoy that. So, overall, what are my final thoughts? Well, I think Bad Habit has done it again. I mean, seriously, guys, when you're talking about $16 and a palette that is formulated this well, it really is an excellent substitute for the Natasha Denona palette. If you have always wanted the Star palette but couldn't afford the $169 that it's going to cost you to get it, then definitely spend the $16. It gives you a palette that, in my opinion, has some colors in it that outperform the Natasha Denona palette. They are incredibly pigmented. They're very creamy. It's in great packaging. Bad Habit has spent a lot of time on their palettes, and it really shows. And I think you guys are absolutely getting $16 worth of an amazing, amazing palette. Truthfully, considering the formula and the packaging, they could probably get away with pricing these palettes quite higher, but they don't. And at the end of the day, I appreciate that, and I hope you guys do too. Let me know if this is a palette that you guys plan on picking up. I would love to know what you guys think about this particular palette. Make sure you put it down in the comments. If you are not part of the Approved crew, make sure that you guys are following me on Instagram at ErikaApproved. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe. Give me a thumbs up if you like this video, and as always, I hope everybody is very happy and very healthy, and I will see you guys in the next video.